Okay, so we are in Hilchos Deios, chapter 2, halacha gimel 3, down to a skeleton crew. Yeah, have you heard of that skeleton crew?
No, it sounds familiar.
It's when you have a ship and you have very few people instead of all the people and all the posts.
Nice.
Yeah. I always associate to the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but I don't think that's where it comes from. I think it's just skeleton because it's like bare bones, which is another idiom.
Be a reference to like
Pirates? Yeah, it could be also. Yeah, a lot of possibilities. I'll have to look it up later. Okay, so let's review what we did yesterday. I'm in Gimel 3. Sure.
I feel like it would just be better in terms of like looking back and forth, getting like a
yeah
more spatial.
Yeah, I definitely sympathize with that. I prefer to use that one also, but yeah. All right, Amruk Kamim Harishonim Kol Koes. Okay. We weren't sure whether you were going or not. We just started. We're just reviewing now. Gimel 3. In second chapter. Amr Chachamim Harishon Kol HaKohes Ki Lo Ovid Avodah Zarah. Anyone gets angry, it's as if he worships Avodah Zarah. So their basic idea we said was.
So anger is where you think that the world should operate according to your emotions.
Right.
And that's basically that's the root of Avodah Zarah.
Right.
Where you like project your emotions onto God.
Right. And I think there's one more small point, which is that when you get angry, it's definitely based on the premise that the reality should follow my emotions, but you also feel that by expressing it, you're actually doing something, and that is what the avoda part is in Avodah Zarah. Like, is engaging in reality through the world of the imagination, thinking that you're going to have an effect on the real world. Yeah. And again, I don't think this is a deep psychological thing, but like the reason why you have that, or not the reason, the origin of when you have this, because when you were little and you cry, then things do happen magically, but like it doesn't work like that when you're an adult. Yeah.
And that's the same. Is that the same part of the mind that like sleeps at the harvest?
Yes, it's magical thinking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But also, it wasn't magic when you were a kid. It just you chalk it up.
Right. Well, yes, the lines between magic and reality were much blurred back then. But yeah, but if we described it in adult terms, we would call it magic.
Right.
V'amru shekol hakohes im chacham hu chachmasam mistalachat mimenu. They said that anyone who's angry, if he's a wise person, then his wisdom departs from him. So there we said that makes sense, and that anger is a distortion of reality and your place in it. So in other words, you can have in other mitos, let's say with money, you can have a distorted relationship to your money, but that doesn't mean that your chachma goes away. Like in that area, you've got a blind spot. But with anger, it like warps the entirety of everything, I think.
Right. So I guess right. It seems like though it's just a particular thing of like how you fit into reality. Like you think you're more primary.
Right.
You actually are.
Right. But I think because it's sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah. So I guess like in the same way as money, it seems like it's just a particular area.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's different is because of what we said about the anger, the root of anger in Gaiva. That what is the independent existence that everything is dependent on. So if it's you, then that affects everything. But if you have a mistake about money, it's not really affecting everything. It's just affecting money. And I think that's what let me be clear. It's not that you lose the ability to think. You could definitely think when you're angry. You can't. You can't think about everything when you're angry, but it distorts the reality, your sense of reality, and your sense of reality is contingent. Like when someone does something that's not in line with your will, and all of reality shakes from it, because that's the foundation. That's what I mean by like your chachma departs. You're not thinking in objective reality. You might still be able to take logical steps and analyze stuff.
Right.
But like the real chachma is gone, and I think that does not happen with particular distortions, with all particular distortions.
Right. So could you have like anger that you feel, but then you're also like sometimes you can be aware that you have anger, like you're not. It doesn't like totally consume you.
Yeah, good question. I mean, this is where we have to get into this distinction here between up until now, the Rambam is talking about. So the first statement is kol hakoes, the second statement is kol hakoes, and then the third statement will be balekas. So the question is like with the kol hakoes, would that include your case? Meaning, is koes defined as anyone who's experiencing any degree of anger, or does it mean like you are taken over by the angry part? You know.
You're saying balekas is when you're like bit of rage.
So that's what I'm not sure about also. But you could say that koes means any degree of anger, and balekas means when you are like completely taken over. Or you could say koes is when you're completely taken over, and balekas are people who are like short-tempered individuals or who are habitually angry. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Very quick to get angry.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah, I don't know. Because certainly with the gaiva thing, it does seem like any degree of gaiva makes you a kofar be'ikr. There's different degrees, but like any degree of gaiva.
Well, right. I guess it could be any anger is stemming is kilu birdseye.
Yeah.
But it's just that maybe the chachma departing from. Well, it sounds like you're saying the same thing.
There's also, by the way, the this I know it's this at the end of the gaiva halacha bishamta. So again, I don't really know why it expresses it as like a excommunication type thing, but the ifbe gas afilu miktsasa, even a little bit of hardiness is enough to get you into that territory. Anger, there's no equivalent statement. Now that doesn't mean it rules it out. You know, like it could be any small amount of anger.
Yeah. The other question I had was
Yes, why does it have to mention the Navi? Oh, by the way, the footnote, you still have your packet, right? Yeah. The footnote for Gimel 3, let's see what he says about that. Ki ilu ovid vodazara, hakoes pash pigia. What does pash pigia mean? Pigia is encounter, unless it means something in modern Hebrew.
like coaching?
Yeah, right. Like you feel, you sense.
Oh.
Or you, well, chodesh is to worry, but
Yeah.
so pigia is affront, offense, insult, or injury. Okay, so yeah, chash is probably he feels insulted, or he feels affronted, feels victimized. Let's see, chash. Yeah, he feels victimized or offended. Umadame, and he imagines shehametzios stricha laratos oso. Oh, that's very good, right? He imagines that reality needs to appease him.
Right.
Iluhu b'merkas olam, as if he's in the center of the world. Okay, we think in the same way. Yeah. Below Gadfarku. Whatever domala vodazara, ukilu who sogade la'atma. Sogade is another word that sounds modern. I've never seen that in my life. Sogade. I've said this before, but I'll say it on record this time. This is what I like about Kappa. Because Kappa defaults to rabbinic Hebrew, unless there's no word for it, and then he goes to modern Hebrew. But I feel like this, these footnotes, and then many like Hebrew academic journals are like the opposite. You know, I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm saying it's inconvenient for me because I don't know the modern Hebrew. Sogade. Oh, neither does the dictionary. Where's the God? Oh, worship or idolize. See, why doesn't it just obey? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay, fine.
Wait, so he's worshiping himself, or
yeah? So so that's a slightly different approach than what we did. He's worshiping himself. I was saying that it's at the root of Vodazara of other gods.
Right, but I guess it's right. It's the same.
Stem from the same thing.
Yeah, like what we were talking about was just projecting that onto.
Yeah, yeah. Well, according to him, it's like a little bit of a question. Why do Chazal differentiate between Kofar Be'ikr and Avodah Zarah? We had a different idea between Avodah Zarah and Kofar Be'ikr.
It's true. Our first idea was more like this.
Yes, yeah. His doesn't differentiate. Yeah. So the Navi. So I don't know the answer to your question about does any amount of anger do this, or is it only you know? I'd like to think that it does in some degree. Like, you know, because it reminds me also of like the statement of Chazal that Ein hamanafim manafim like it's talking about, they're talking about all averos, but they put it in terms of adultery, that the adulterers only adulterate. That's not what adulterate means. They only commit adultery. They don't commit adultery unless a spirit of folly enters into them. Meaning, when you are in the grips of a taiva, then your mind's not thinking clearly. You know, so I would have to think that that's similar to Kas, but I don't know to what degree, if it like totally warps everything or not. I mean, the halachos on these talakas, man, it does sound like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I guess that is an interesting point you're bringing up. It doesn't seem limited to cost.
Yeah. But that's also Ruch Shtutz entering you. It doesn't say that you are Ovid Avodah Zarah. They're not thinking. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know what the deal is with the Nevuah thing. Yeah, I'll come here. Nevuah. If Chachma happens, then Nevuah, yeah. And like we said before, in order to be qualified to be Nevi, you need to be in control of your emotions. So like, yeah. Okay. Balech kas in chayehem chaim. Simple level, it's just a really conflict-ridden life. You're constantly agitated by everything, you know? So like that, what kind of a life is that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's also, again, I don't know how much to read into his formulations, but it kind of reminds me of the tzaddikim, afilu b'misas and himchaim, that tzaddikim, even when they are dead, then they're alive, and Rashaim, even during their lifetime, they're dead. But that's a different idea. Ein chayim chaim means it's not a real life. Meaning that's why I'm thinking it means like in psychological terms, like it's just like it's not a life worth living. As Plato would say, your existence is equal to your non-existence. Yeah.
And yeah, why is it? Just because
I think it's just constant conflict because reality will always be not in line with your desires. So like, you know, there are certain types of bad mitos that you could avoid. You know, like if you are, it's a funny thing, by the way. So okay, I'll take the point. If you, let's say you have money issues. So if you avoid money, then like it's hard to work out like where you avoid money, but like you could, whatever, you know, become a monk or whatever. And what do you call it? And then you have to deal with that mita, you know? Or let's say like with, you know, cowardice and bravery, like, yeah, the average life, you're going to have to encounter people and like confront them, but like you could structure your life in a way where you strive to maximize confrontation, but things not going in line with your will, that's everything, you know? So it's just constant turbulence. The thing I was laughing about is when I was doing my taxes on Sunday and I was talking to the live CPA. At one point, she asked me, like, we had to go through like all my finances. So at one point, she asked me when I told her that I was clergy, you know, she said, have you taken a vow of poverty? And I thought she was insulting me about how little I make, you know? And I was like, what? You know, and then she said, because if you take a vow of poverty, then you can actually get certain exemptions. You know? And she was speaking like in accounting mode, but I thought it was like really funny, you know? So I thought of that just now. I was saying you would avoid money, but yeah. Yes, yeah, I guess that registers in tax law. I mean, I didn't know that. Yeah. I don't think I will though. Yeah. Lefika Sivu. So I'm going with that interpretation. Should we see what he says? Ein chayim chayim. Shahari kol chayim maleim merirus v'ra'al al maseh acherim o alatam. Yeah, all right. So their entire life is filled with the bitterness, and ra'al I think is like vitriol over the actions of others or about themselves.
Right.
That's pretty much what I was saying. Yeah.
Like it's because it's such a painful life.
Yeah.
It's better that they didn't exist.
Yeah. Or just, I mean, I think the way we say it, like when we say like get a life, you mean that the life that you're living is just not going to be like, is just not worth living, you know, like not in the metaphysical sense, just in the like, it's not an enjoyable life. Like, you know, again, like what kind of a life is that, you know? Okay, that's not a new idea. So that's also consistent with what we did until you conduct yourself to the point where you don't feel even things that are anger provoking. And that is the good path. So what's interesting is the question is, why does he have to say this twice? I mean, he's saying the Chachamim commanded this, but we already went through, you have to distance yourself to the other side and, you know.
Why is it?
Yeah, what's Lufikach? And I think that's the key.
Well, I mean, if we're saying that earlier when he said he's put the other side, he's talking about actions, and here he's talking about internally, so that would be good.
So why didn't he say this by gaiva, by haughtiness? That would have been a good answer. Meaning he didn't have an equivalent statement there, did he? I mean, he quoted the Chazals.
Yeah,
but that's quoting the Chazals. This is the Rambam not quoting anyone. This is the Rambam saying it on his own, describing what Chazal did. I think you could just say that there's no difference.
Yeah.
I can give you a hint also. I'm just working this out now. I didn't work this out ahead of time, but I think if you look at the argument he's making Then you'll see the difference by gaiva versus by kas. And I don't know if I'm right, then I don't know if I buy it, but I think I could be right about this maybe.
Well, you don't buy what?
I might not. I think I'm right about my reading of the Rambam, but I don't know if I buy what the Rambam's saying. If that's what he's actually saying.
Well, it could be. It seems like by cost. No, yeah. Let's say by cost. It seems like. Well, let's start with Anava. By Anava, it seems like it's just sort of it's purely a philosophical mistake.
Yeah.
And you can still have a good life.
Okay, yeah.
It's just that it's wrong.
Yeah.
But by cost, there's actually like your life is not a life.
That's exactly what I was going to say, and that's why I don't buy it. Right? I mean, so just to spell it out in textual terms here, that the Lefika is after stating both philosophical and practical reasons why it's not good to be angry. So the philosophical reason is kilu ovid avodah zara. The practical reason is your chachma goes away and your life is not a life. Or you could just say it's going on the fact that your life is not a life. You don't have to say, you don't have to side to both of those.
Yeah.
But so Chachamim command you to distance yourself from it for two reasons. One is it's the illness of the soul that's severe. That was the first framework he set up, and that's true, equally true of gaiva, but also because it's not worth it. And the reason why I don't buy that is because I feel like gaiva is also not worth it. And I feel like that also creates practical problems, and like in Mishlei, that definitely is clear.
You can't really live a good life if you're.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stemming from the same thing, even if it's manifesting differently, of like thinking everything revolves around you and you should be able to control everything, and then like when things don't work out your way, you're like, well, like,
right.
You should be able
Now,
like you're still having like we said, when you're
this answers.
you can't have gaiva without anger.
Yeah.
You're going to be angry about things because what do you mean?
Right.
Why is it not working out for me?
So then maybe that answers it then, right? Meaning that it's not the gaiva per se that makes your life not worth living. It's the fact that the gaiva will culminate in anger, and that's what makes your life not worth living. Now, the gaiva will still affect your decision making, right? That's definitely true, and still will affect you metaphysically. But really, so gaiva gives rise to kas, and the kas makes your life not a life, and that's why he deploys this statement here. That's why the Chachamim said you should distance yourself from kas.
So, but let's say you had gaiva and you didn't encounter any.
Right. So then the practical argument would not play out.
Right.
Of your living a bad life.
Of your living a life not worth living. Right.
Right, but it's still people.
Yeah. Like, for example, I'm sure there have been in history kings that had such absolute tyrannical power that they never had to, not never, but that they rarely had to actually face the prospect of someone like not doing what they want, So yeah, they're still gonna get angry when it rains and they want to play golf or whatever. But but like, like that's or people who are that's not gonna work either because they're gonna get angry. Yeah, fine. So yeah, not entirely happy with it, but it salvages it a bit.
Right. I mean, it's also it's not like so smooth or clear because like we're separating these two things that are like inseparable. Like if you have gaiva, you're going to be angry about things.
That I'm not so bothered by, in the sense that I read an excerpt that said what I'm about to say from someone. Maybe it was Fesser early in the year, that if you take a piece of toast and you butter it, so the butter and the toast are physically inseparable, but they're analytically separable. Meaning, once you butter toast, you can't unbutter it. It's the butter like enmeshed in the toast. So, but analytically, you know that there's bread and that there's butter. So anger and it's a good emotional, right? Anger and kas always go together. Anger and gaiva always go together. But they are analytically separable, and therefore we could talk about them in two different ways, and we could say that it's the anger that is causing your life not to be a life worth living, even though it'll come from the gaiva.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Right. Yeah.
For now, at least. Yeah. Okay. So now the derech hatzadikim. So now he's comparing the derech. So he just got through saying v'zohi haderech hatova. The derech hatzadikim. Now that sounds like more than the derech hatova. And didn't we point out that this is the first time he uses the term derech hatzadikim? Yeah. Hein aluvin ve'inan olvin. They are insulted, but they don't insult. Shomin karpafin ve'inan meshivin. They hear their disgrace and they don't respond. Osim me'ava. They do out of love, so we don't know what they do. Usmechim b'yisurin, and they rejoice in afflictions. Aleim HaKatav Omer, regarding them, it is stated, V'ohavav katseis hashemesh bigvura so. I don't know Shoftim. I just want to look and see if the context is important. And by looking to see if the context is important, I mean take one glance. Yeah, sure. I mean take one glance at it, and then if it proves to be too cumbersome, then just ignore the fact that I said I should look up the context. Oh, this is the fierce Devorah, and this is Sithra's mother. Hold on. Interesting. So this is the end of Fierce Devorah with which is talking about the downfall of Sisera. And that's the famous scene, right? That through the window she gazed. Sisera's mother peered through the window. Why is the chariot delayed in coming? Why are the hoofbeats of the carriage so late? The wisest of her ladies answered her, and she too offered herself responses, saying, "Are they not finding and dividing loot? A comely captive, 2 comely captives for every man, booty of colored garments for Sisera, booty of colored embroidery, colored doubly embroidered garments for the necks of the looters." So that was her trying to in denial about the fact that her son had been defeated, and she's like telling herself like, oh no, he's just like collecting spoils and stuff, but deep down she knew that he was defeated. And then says, so may all your enemies be destroyed, O Hashem, and let those who love him be like the powerfully rising sun. So I don't know if that matters, but it is an interesting thing that it's not talking, the essential topic was talking about the downfall of Sisera and the mother's denial. The pasuk is not, and then the thing about tzaddikim is being thrown in like at the end to contrast it with the enemies.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess that sort of makes sense. Like we are contrasting the tzaddikim here with halachos.
Yeah.
Like the tzaddikim's lives are really lives.
Right. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then, right. So to be a non-koeth person is just the derech tova. But there's something that's better than that, which is the tzaddikim. So it's one thing to not. Oh, that's like the letter of Seneca that I did yesterday. I recorded it yesterday. Let me read it. Hold on. So this is when he's trying to convince his mother not to be unhappy about the fact that he is he was exiled, being accused of having having an affair with Caligula's sister. And if there's one person you don't want to upset, it's Caligula. Not a good guy to upset. So he's trying to convince her that even though he's been exiled for 7 years, then this is not going to be so bad. So he says to her, the terms under, I'll get to the point in soon. This is one paragraph. The terms under which we are born would be favorable if we did not play them false. Nature intended that no great equipment should be necessary for happiness. Each of us is in a position to make himself happy. Externals have little weight and exert only slight pressure in one direction or the other. The sage is neither elated by prosperity nor depressed by adversity. His endeavor always is to rely mainly on himself and to seek his whole satisfaction from within himself, with capital S. Does it follow that now here's the line. Does it follow that I claim to be a sage? Not in the least. If I could make that claim, I should not only be denying that I am unhappy, but vaunting myself the happiest of men, one who had attained nighness to God, who is close to God. But I put myself in the hands of the sages, which is enough to allay all unhappiness in my present state. Not yet in position to bring up my own reserves, I have taken refuge in the camp of others, of those to wit who guard themselves and their partisans with ease. It is they who have bidden me keep steadfast watch, as on a sentry post, and to forestall fortune's every sally or attack long before it occurs. For assault is formidable only when it comes as a surprise. It is sustained with ease if one is always on the alert for it. Even an enemy onset confounds only those it takes unexpectedly. Those who are prepared for war can easily parry the initial charge, which is the most violent. So what he's saying like this, that a sage would be totally happy no matter what happens. I'm not a sage, so I'm not happy, but I'm not unhappy. Yes, yeah. Yeah, so that's what he's saying is so the derech tova is just to not be angry, okay? But there's a higher level, which is the tzaddikim who rejoice in afflictions and they act out of simcha. That's a higher level. So apparently it's necessary so there's being able to not get angry at reality when it's not in line with your desire, and then to yearn for whatever God's will is, regardless of what comes, because you know that it's good. That's a tzaddik, yeah.
Do not be angry at the way that things are.
Yeah.
To desire. Is it the desire the way that things end up?
Yeah, and I think he doesn't go into why that is, but I also read that in the Rambam in the Mor Nevuchim this morning, that if you, like this is in his commentary on Eov, or his commentary in the Mor Nevuchim on Eov, that rejoicing in Yisurin and having it add to your avas Hashem, like Rabbi Akiva who's being tortured to death and still is able to, and using that as the method or as an opportunity to reflect on the goodness of God, you know. That's like a high level, you know.
Right. It seems like so then being angry at like the Rasul Hashem not being carried out seems like a negative thing. Then
being angry at the Rasul Hashem. Sorry. Oh yeah, you mean the philosophical anger we were saying yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like a pain. Like
right. That's true.
Not
it would. Right. You would think that you'd be in a state of ahava and simcha the whole time.
Right.
But it seems like that's not true, though. And if we look at the tzaddikim, it seems like they were angry at. Now you could say that that's just acting angry, but I feel like, let's say for example, when Moshe, when did Moshe get angry when he came down from Har Sinai? I think he got angry before he went to the people. I think Moshe saw them and got angry. Let's see. That would be a good. That'd be a good riot because he was alone then.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless he knew they didn't come down.
I think they were busy, right, with with the eagle. I think. By the way, did you say the Talmud Chacham thing because you heard it this morning, or you just wow? No. So either you just have really good intuition, or I'm just that predictable.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because I talked about that when I read that. Yeah.
No, I mean it just sounded exactly.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Cool.
Or the ideas are just that clear. Yeah. It's not bad to be predictable, you know.
I mean, it's a direct translation, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but that didn't mean that I have to talk about it on my podcast this morning. Right. Yeah. Good. Golden calf. Oh, is that a Tanakh or a Chumash? Okay, so it's chapter 32 in Shemot. Let's see, where is Moshe get angry?
Oh. It's like Asa is not in Shemot.
Okay, so Moshe gets angry in Lamed Beis Yud Tes. Oh, you know, I think he was in their eyesight because it's the same. Vayihi kasher karav el hamachna vayar es ha'egel mecholos. And was when Moshe approached the camp and he saw the calf and the dancing. Vayikar af Moshe, and Moshe became angry. Vayashlef miyadav es halachos vayishaber kamtach v'har. And Moshe threw the tablet from his hand and broke them at the foot of the mountain. I think it seems like everyone saw that. That was a public act. Right. So it could be that he wasn't actually angry. And he was informed of it by Hashem earlier, way back in Pasuk 7.
Right, he wasn't angry.
And he wasn't angry then, yeah. You know, the other thing that leads me to believe, though, that it not only does that aside, the philosophical anger, it does seem like tzaddikim do get angry when it's philosophically warranted, and Hashem gets angry, so to speak, when it's philosophically warranted. Now, you could also say that Hashem is not doing it like he's just doing it demonstratively also, but right. I don't know. You know, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's right. It seems like that would be just the more.
Yeah, it's definitely more painful. Right.
So why would you want it?
Right. I mean, the other possibility is just like with ahava and yira, you can't always be in ahava, and yira is a philosophically realistic state, but it's one in which the self is present. The lowercase s is present. And so it's possible that anger is a lower level. Philosophical anger is a lower level. It's not the ideal, but it still is. It's not philosophically imperfected. You know, I mean, there are such cases. There are such states, like I'm mentioning. You know. And similarly with like, mourning over the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Like, I don't think we say that if you're on a very, very high level, then you won't be sad about the Beis Hamikdash being destroyed. It is sad, but you're sad about an objective reality, and that's a negative state.
Yeah. So right. Yeah. So why do we want to review the state?
Yeah, I mean, it is realistic, right? I mean,
Realistic.
right? Like, what would it say if you? I mean, it would say that you're accepting reality, but that's not. I mean, this is the difficult thing about the word reality here, because if human beings didn't exist, then the only reality would be what's happening. But because human beings exist and we have free will, and there is a plan for how God designed things to be, and then we deviate from that plan. There's the reality of what's going on, and then there's the reality of how things were designed to operate. And like, you can be yearning for that true reality to be actualized, and sad about the fact that the reality in the present that human beings have created with their free will is not being actualized. And that's really anger at human beings. It's not even angry at God.
Right.
Because human beings are exercising their free will, and it's really their fault.
Right, but even so.
And you're not angry about the fact that God created humans. That would be philosophically incorrect anger. It's the fact that these human beings are choosing to harm themselves and the system.
Right, but if you're accepting the ideal construction, like the theoretical, whatever, the way things should be, and then you're also accepting that humans have free will, and you're accepting that they misuse their free will. Like, if you're accepting all those facts, then what are you in pain about? Which thing?
I think you are in pain about the fact that if the reality, if the plan A reality were actualized, it would be objectively more beneficial for everybody. And the fact that these people are so mired in their ignorance that they're overrun by a false idea of the good that's taking away their own benefit. Like, God wants to benefit everyone.
Right.
He's a tova metiv, and like, and the only one who's messing it up, like in the idea of like the Hodel Hashem Kitov in Sforno, saying that God is always metiv. It's just the recipients are jeopardizing for themselves. It's a tragedy. It's a sad thing that like that they're not getting good when they could be getting good.
Right. And you're not right. You wouldn't be recognizing the fact that they were losing out on good if you weren't sad. Like, if you weren't.
Yeah, a part of you would be in denial or not realizing it.
About the discrepancy between plan A and
yeah, and I think that'd be a distortion. Yeah. All right. This is a setup for the summer already for Tisha B'Av.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we gonna be? So the plant. Sorry, whatever. That's.
Yeah. Good call. All right. Are we ready for silence?
Yes.
Okay. You see my joke?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to do it though, but yeah. What?
This is about speaking.
Yeah.
And got it too.
The joke was in the it was going to be about silence, and the joke was that we're going to read this and then just stop here because it's telling us to be quiet. Yeah. All right. L'olam yarbe adam b'shtika. Person should always be. How would you translate yarbe here? Increase in silence. You used to think that silence was absence of sound. Right. Quantity. It's substance. And a person should only speak either in a matter of chachma or in something that is needed for the physical life. Okay, and again, physical life also does include your psychological needs, because that's part of your physicality. But obviously, that there is a line between that and like indulging in fantasy and fear and other distorting emotions. You would not, even though anger is an emotion, and emotions are part of your physical life, you wouldn't say that talking about your anger, things that make you angry, is like a good use of your speaking.
Well, if that's gonna help,
if it's helping you,
angry,
right? If it's gonna help you, right. I meant that like going on a rant. Yeah. Amr al Rav, was stated about Rav, Talmid Rabbeinu Kadosh, the student of Rabbeinu Kadosh. Shelo sach sicha b'teila kol yamav. He didn't have any idle chit chat for his entire life. V'zohi sichas rov kol adam. This is the conversation of the majority of people. That and talking about their kindnesses. Even about a person's bodily needs, he should not be excessive in statements. Regarding this, the sages commanded and said, anyone who increases words, brings a sin upon himself. I assume it's upon himself, even though it doesn't say that. V'amru, and they said, Lo matasi tov laguf el shtika. I didn't find anything better for the body than silence. Emphasis on the body. I think we should read all three of the halachos here because these all deal with silence. Okay, so let's just read the next ones and then we'll go back. Same thing in words of Torah and words of Chachma. Yihu divrei hachacham ma'atim v'inyanei merubim. The words of the Chacham should be few and its content or its ideas, concepts, many. And this is what the Chachamim commanded and said, La'olam yishne adam l'talmido derech katara. We got an Isaac now, suddenly. A person should always teach his student in a concise manner. Hello, Isaac. We just started the new halachos. We just finished the anger halachos.
Okay.
But if the words were many and the conceptual content was small, this is foolishness. Regarding this, it is stated in Koheles, Ki ba hachalom barov inyan, the kol ksil barov dvarim. That a dream, it's funny he used the word inyan here, but in a different way than he was using it in the Rambam. A dream comes in an abundance of preoccupation. I think that's what inyan means there. The kol ksil barov dvarim, and the voice of a fool in the abundance of words. Okay, one more, and then we'll go back. Stiag lachachma shtika. A fence for wisdom is silence. Lefikach lo yimaher lahashiv. Therefore, a person should not be quick to respond. Lo yarbe ladaber. He should not be excessive. Thank you in speaking. V'lamid latalmidim beshuva v'nachas. And he should teach his students with in repose and pleasantness or calmness. Below tza'aka, without crying out or screaming, literally. Arichus lashon, and without any prolonged speech. This is what Shlomo said. Divrei chachamim benachas nishma'im. The words of chachamim are heard with pleasantness. The question is, what is the Rambam doing here?
Yeah.
I understand choli nefesh, and then how to cure choli nefesh, and then two extreme cases of choli nefesh, and how to cure them, or not how to cure them, but why they're bad diseases. Then suddenly, lolam yarb adam b'shtika. Like, how does that fit into the whole, like why is it not enough? Let's say like all the examples that the Rambam brought in the first perek. He's not going to go through all those examples and bring in all the statements of Chazal about cowardice and about like stinginess, like why is he talking about shtika here and devoting 3 paragraphs to it, which by the way is more than he devoted to Gaiva. Ironically, even though he says he should be. Yeah. It's funny, right?
Huh.
I never noticed that before.
And Cox also.
And Pas, yeah. You want to do this? You want to read the rest of the perek, just so we can see the full scope of the rest of the perek, and then we can go back over the next however many days and analyze.
Sure. Okay.
After la'adam lahanhig atzmo, this is involved now, it is also for a person to accustom himself the divrei halachos upitui, in words of smooth-tonguedness, right? Smooth talking, as we say it in English, and pitui and
Flattery.
Say again?
Flattery?
No, that'd be Hanifa. Pitui is literally seduction, right? Like fooling someone with drawing them in, like a Petsy, like in Mishlei, like he's seduced by his own yetzer, V'lo tihye achas b'peh v'achas b'lev. You should not be one in his mouth and one in his heart, meaning you shouldn't say one thing and feel another thing, right? Except anger, where you are saying angry words and you're not feeling it, you mean? Right. Not the other way around. Yeah. It threw me off for saying, yeah, correct. And look, toho kavaro, his inside should be like his outside. And the matter in his heart is what is on his mouth, right? What is not being said that needs to be said, right? Only that's the only question for this one.
Right.
Yeah, okay. The usher lignov das abrios, and it's usher to literally to steal the mind or steal the knowledge or steal the psyche of people. Vafilu das agoy, even the das of a non-Jew. So it's like in English we say the name of das is tricking someone. Yeah, okay, right. So now we have what's similar between this and there is a flow from the last one to this one because it's about speech,
Right.
right?
If you are going to speak.
Yeah. Then this is more about how you should not speak.
Right.
Yeah. But it's interesting because it's not just speech. It also seems to have to do with like integrity.
Mhm.
You know, like what we said before, for example, like these last three halachos about speech, you could force yourself in a completely behavioral way to do, but I guess you could do that also here.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like the emphasis is on you shouldn't be echad b'pev echad b'leiv. I feel like that's like a maybe that's just the phrase, but I feel like that's talking about something like that's talking about the whole person.
But he's not saying you should be anything in particular in terms.
Right. That's true. Yeah, that might just be the way you're saying it. Yeah. Okay, I hear. So speech is the common thread so far.
Yeah.
All right, next. Ketzad. Oh, so what are the examples of gnevas das? Lo yimkor legoy basar nevela bichlal shchuta. You should not sell a non-Jew non-kosher meat included in kosher meat, in shafted meat. Meaning even though kosher doesn't matter to him. Let's say like I tell the guy it's kosher steaks. And I tell myself, oh, he's non-Jew. It doesn't really matter whether it's kosher or not, so I can tell him that it's kosher. But even
Give him
still,
what he's paying for.
exactly, yeah. You shouldn't give him a shoe, I guess, made out of leather from a like carrion, like an animal that just died. I assume that's what it means. In place of a shoe made from leather from a shafted animal. Anyone know what halachic area this pertains to? It's like a tumatara thing.
What do you mean? Oh, the
Well, like we don't have to make sure that our shoes come from like shchita animals.
I wonder if maybe it's like that. Maybe a treifa is tameh, and then the shoes would be tameh.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was a tumatara issue, or the other possibility is, and this is totally ignorant, is there some sort of like iser derabanan for us on Aver min hachai of like not using things taken from animals that were not killed? Sounds like it could be, right? Yeah.
Wouldn't that be like an iser hana?
Yeah, isn't that what this is talking about?
Yeah, but I don't.
I've never heard of such a thing. I'm just positing halachos.
Yeah, I don't think there's any iser hana by nevela.
Hold on, two people at a time. Is that what we're saying?
We wouldn't be able to sell it at all if it was a chavurah.
That's true. That's true. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So maybe tumatara is better. Let's look at the footnote. I bet they'll tell us. Loyim kor lagoy basar nevela bifal shruta. No, that's not. Minal shal mesa nal hasu or nevela. He doesn't explain why. Okay, fine.
It could just be like there's no halachic relevance.
Right. It could just be like quality control.
Yeah.
You know,
Like
you
the
find.
shafted one would be better. Than
Yeah,
the
because
one
then
that died naturally.
Yeah, like you go find roadkill on the
fresher.
street and like, oh, I'm gonna make shoes out of these and sell them to the goyim. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like just like a dead, rotting corpse.
Yeah,
made of
right.
Leather.
Yeah. I think we call them carrion when they're animals and corpses when they're humans. You don't say like they got your meat from the corpse of a cow, right? It's weird. I've never noticed that difference. Yeah,
Huh.
Makes sense.
yeah, it does. Yeah.
If it was about like a case of like carrion, then or it's like lower quality, then that wouldn't only be to a goy.
Right, but it could be that the question's coming from the fact that we are, or that there's a havmina that like the standards of what you are allowed and not allowed to like present or represent in business is like different by goyim than by Jews.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not sure. Well, yeah.
Or it just could just be a general hamina that like if there's no difference, it's not in this house.
Right.
Like you're really telling him that I'm selling you this thing that is valued at a certain
Right.
amount.
Yeah. Like, let's say, I'll give you an example of that modern day, nothing to do with carrion. Like, let's say you own a store and you sell something to me and I return it and I haven't really like used it in a way that diminishes the quality. And then Avi comes along and buys it from you. So you can't tell him, oh, it's brand new. Even if the quality is the same as brand new,
Right.
that still is gnevas das if you tell him it's brand new, even though it was used, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. V'lo yisarev b'chavero sheyochel etzlo v'hu yodea she'eino ochel. Right. So this is a common one. You shouldn't pressure your friend like with an invitation, sheyochal etzlo, to eat by him, v'hu yodeh she'eno ochel, and he knows, meaning like, let's say like I invite someone to eat with me, and I know he's not going to accept, but I just do it because I want to look like Ish Chesed, right? Yeah. So that would be that's also going to be das, because I'm not actually inviting him, right? I'm just saying that I'm going to invite him. The yarbe lo the tikrovis v'hu yodeh she'eno makabel, or you like heap upon him. Literally, tikrovis is like offerings, but I don't think it means like as a vodazar. It means like gifts, and he's not going to accept them. So this one I have had to. This one I'm not good on. So, literally what it says is you should not open. I mean, I would be mocking on the others. They just don't come up. Okay, I didn't mean that I'm like that I do K'nevus Das in all these other areas. I mean, like this one's the one that comes up of the examples that the Rambam says. What was that?
You sell shoes from Buster.
Yeah, I know. my shoe business on the side. You shouldn't open for him barrels of wine, I think, that you need to open anyway to sell them, but you say it's for his kavod. So like the way that this comes up is, let's say like if I bring a really good bottle of wine to someone's house, if I bought it for them because I'm going to go there, I'm going to say like I bought this like in your honor, like this high quality bottle. But there have been times when I bought it like for myself, let's say like for a Yom Tov or something like that, and then I decide afterwards to bring it over to them, and I'll say like I bought this for myself, but like I'm bringing it over, because I want to share it or whatever. Because like, and that would be an example. It's like they're not going to know any difference. Like, and even if like, let's say I am partially bringing it over to them, but to represent it as though like I bought this for them, that's false.
What if you like just don't say anything?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think that's not. Oh, actually, that's a good question.
Like
that would not be sheker,
right?
But it might be K'nevus Das, if depending on what their assumption is. I do think that is K'nevus Das. I haven't asked a shaila on it, like halachically, but I think like if you know that they're going to assume something, and you like have the opportunity to correct the assumption, and you don't, I feel like again this is not soft, but I feel like that would be K'nevus Das.
Also, are these like
hold on a second. Like let's say you put on like a doctor's uniform and like you walk in and like start doing surgery on somebody, and then you get caught. Well, they never asked me if I'm a doctor. I wasn't lying. They should have asked. I think that's pretty. Yeah. That's K'nevus Das.
So is this the real answer?
So it's interesting, right? Because he did say usher, but
usher about cost.
He did say usher about cost, okay, and it's possible he holds a cost is usher. I mean, I know I said not necessarily, and I know but notice he also said, and I don't know how much to read into this. Usher l'adam lahanhig atzmo b'divrei halachos u'pitoi. Sounds like if you get into the habit of doing this, then that is usher. It is whatever he means by usher, but that's what he's talking about. It doesn't mean that you never do this, and there are definitely times when you like we talked about briefly this morning, when you do have a heter to lie, like for shalom, right. Or for what's the other example? Like you're allowed to say that you are less of a like less learned than you actually are. Like someone asks if like Masechta, you could say that you don't know it, for like public purposes, or like for like another purposes to like distance yourself from gaiva. I think that I've never seen that inside, but whenever we talk about this with Ryan Moskowitz, that was one that he would always quote.
And technically speaking, that is K'nevus Das.
And that's K'nevus Das, right?
Wait,
right.
Should do that or you?
I think it's virtuous to do that. Not that you like are chayav to or anything like that. We should really look into it though if we're to check it out and make sure.
Yes.
Because I think by Simchas Kala, I think you should tell her that she's beautiful. Even if she's hideous. Yeah. So I'm saying that it sounds like it's also to be manhig yourself, noheg yourself in this. Please not hig. Yeah. Okay. We did not finish the reading the halacha yet, right? Oh no. But everything's gonna be overturned by the next sentence. I'm read Kedei lefatoso b'shvil kvodo patak. I forgot to read the rest of that case. In order to trick him, in order to that it was his kavod for his kavod that he opened it. That undermines everything. Even one word of fooling and of tricking is asur.
Oops.
Yeah, okay, I guess that undermines everything. That's why you got to finish reading the halacha before you make conclusions. All right, I learned that lesson the hard way right now. Ella safas. Oh, so this actually justifies. Stop the recording. Yeah, and then he ends by saying Ella sfas emes v'ruach nachon v'leiv tahar mikol amol v'havuos. Rather, you should have true lips, firm, or I think nachon here would be like reliable or trustworthy spirit, and leiv tahar mikol amol v'havuos, and a heart that is pure from all. This is weird. Toil and havos is that word in Mishle that no one really knows how to translate. Batterings, bashings, conflict, wickedness, plotting. Like it was one of those ones that we had this earlier in chapter 10. Yeah. All right. Now in the remaining 4 minutes, let's just read the next one, so we can then come back into it tomorrow and then decide how we analyze everything. Lo yehi adam bal tzchok v'hetel. Person should not be a joke, excessively joking person. I think tzchok, we said last night, is laughter, joking, whatever. Hetel, I always think it means cat, but that's chatul, right? Hetel is like, I think it's also like a word for like mockery or like lack of seriousness. Lo ativ onim, but you also shouldn't be sad and despondent. Ela sameach, you should be sameach. So here's the raya, by the way, that the Rambam does not use the word sameach to mean like excessively happy. And like he's clearly depicting this as like a middle ground between like excessively like joking around and like excessively like despondent. You know, wow, that took a direction I didn't expect. Joking around and frivolity, right? Call rosh, accustomed person to erba, to araya, to sexual.
Isn't that's like the Mishnah passage that we did last night?
Yes, that's true. Good raya. Yes, that's exactly. Very good. Very good. Okay, I'll have to send this in the chat. But and they commanded that a person not be barrier breaking in joking. So all the comedians are trying to like break down barriers.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. Yeah. You can let them do that and you can laugh, but you shouldn't do that. And a person shouldn't be despondent and make himself mourn. You should greet everyone with a cheerful disposition. Yes, yes.
Is this all the quote?
Is this all of the quote?
Is the quote all of that?
No, I think it had stuff before it. I think it had 2 things before it. It didn't say the parrots.
No. My question is, are these 3 lines all the quote? All quote?
They're not all that quote that Zev is talking about in Perek Helvos. I don't think so.
Oh no, I'm not saying they're all Perek Helvos. I'm saying calls Rosh Mergin the Erva.
You're asking if that's one quote and then Bitsivu and now quote. I mean, this does not sound like a quote.
Yeah, because this seems to be redundant. Like it's saying that you it says he says you shouldn't be like about schok, and you shouldn't be atav and then he says you shouldn't be parrots b'schok, and then you shouldn't be atav musaba.
No, those are 2 different things. I think the first sentence is talking about your emotional disposition in general, and then the last section is talking about how you relate to other people.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think so. I mean, we can define more when we go into it. Let's do the last one. We had this before. You shouldn't be a wide-souled person, right? Niv halahon, like clamoring after money. And nor should you be lazy and batal for malacha. So these are the 2 personalities in Tehillim. This is the Rasha and the late in Tehillim according to the Meiri Tehillim 1. Ela bal ayin tov, you should be generous. Not me'esek, a little bit of business, the osek b'Torah, but your real business is in Torah. But also hama'at shu chelko, and that little portion that's that little bit that's your portion. Yes, machbo, you should be content with your portion. Below yeh bal katata, you shouldn't be a contentious person. Below bal kina, and not a jealous person. Below bal taiva, and not a lustful person. Below rodif achar kavod, and you shouldn't be a kavod seeking person. This is what the Chachamim say: that jealousy and desire or lust and honor remove a person from the world. The sum of the matter. You should go in the middle path in each and every day until all of your Deios are oriented towards the middle, except the 2 exceptions. In all of his in your ways, they will make you firm or make you ready. Yeah. So it does sound like, just loosely speaking for now, we can develop it more later. It is general Deios advice for how to be in the middle path for these other Deios, but just not going to each one equally. Okay, let's stop here and then we'll dissect it for the last remaining 2 days.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you.